are here today on January the 30th, 2023, 75 years to the day that Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation, man who inspired millions of Indians to fight for freedom against the British, was shot dead by Nathuram Godse, a Hindutva fanatic who believed India is a country that belongs only to Hindus. This is the address, this is the building, this is the venue where this crime was committed, arguably the first terrorist crime of independent India. The building, which had the address known today by 30 Janwari Marg, is where Mahatma Gandhi spent his last 144 days in meditation, in prayer. He would meet with ordinary Indians from all walks of life every day. He would pray, and he was available and accessible to one and all, including, as it turned out, his assassins. This is the precise spot behind me where Mahatma Gandhi was shot and where he uttered those famous immortal words, "Hey Ram," as life slowly ebbed out of his body. And of course, 75 years have passed since the day that he was shot dead, since the day that he was killed. But it is literally no exaggeration to say that in the India of today, in the India of 2023, Gandhi, his values, his beliefs are getting killed every day. That sounds like an exaggeration, that sounds like rhetoric or bombast, but I want to talk you through, in a brief manner, the precise ways in which we in India in 2023, 75 years after his assassination, persist in killing the Mahatma. What I want to do is to present you a short list of what I believe are the most important values that Gandhi stood for and which are being disregarded and trampled underfoot every day before our very eyes. The first and most important value is Gandhi's belief that India is a country of all its people, and not just of its Hindu citizens. In Hind Swaraj, Gandhi wrote, "In no part of the world are one nationality and one religion synonymous terms, nor has it ever been so in India." It should be obvious to everybody that Gandhi's conception of India stands diametrically opposed to the Hindutva belief as espoused by V.D. Savarkar and Golwalkar and other stalwarts of the wider Hindutva movement, who believe that India is a country primarily of Hindus. I also want to read what Gandhi wrote and said about the issue of cow slaughter and beef, an issue which has prompted the BJP in many states to pass draconian laws and which has led to the lynch murders of arguably 3 or 4 dozen people over the last few years. This is what Gandhiji said. "In India, no law can be made to ban cow slaughter. I do not doubt that Hindus are forbidden the slaughter of cows. I have been long pledged to serve the cow. But how can my religion also be the religion of the rest of the Indians? It will mean coercion against those Indians who are not Hindus. We have been shouting from the rooftops that there will be no coercion in the matter of religion. We have been reciting verses from the Quran at the prayer. But if anyone were to force me to recite those verses, I would not like it. How can I force anyone not to slaughter cows unless he is himself so disposed. It is not as if there were only Hindus in the Indian Union. There are Muslims, Parsis, Christians, and other religious groups here. The second principle of Gandhiji's, which is being killed every day, is the need to protect the environment. I know that we have a Prime Minister and a government that make tall claims about standing for the protection of the environment. But the fact is that this government has watered down legal provisions and rules which are meant to safeguard the Indian ecological system, to safeguard the Indian environment. The third value that I want to talk about that was close to Gandhiji, and it's often something that's misunderstood frequently, is the importance of industrialization creating jobs. Gandhi is often portrayed as somebody who was opposed to progress, who was opposed to the economy developing, who was opposed to factories. But if you actually read what Gandhi said and listen to what he said, it is clear that what Gandhi opposed was mechanization or industrialization that would render people jobless. And he stood for an economic policy, he stood for an industrial policy that would allow the country to gain the productivity benefits of mechanization, machinery, industrialization, without at the same time hurting the employment prospects of the mass of people. And sadly today, whether it's the slogan of Make in India or the production-linked incentives, various other schemes of the government, the fact is that what little growth we are seeing, and that's much less than what we had earlier, is coming with the creation of far fewer jobs than what the young people of this country need. The fourth principle is Gandhi's focus on inequality. For Gandhi, focusing on the needs of the poorest Indian and keeping her or his image in mind while formulating policy was essential for the country to make the best use of its freedom and independence. Gandhi would never have balked at the idea that India's poorest Indians, whether they be Dalits and Adivasis, whether they be from religious minorities, whether they be farmers, whether they be women who have been completely marginalized over the centuries, that these should be the focus of economic policy, their needs, their requirements. I think Gandhi would have stood shoulder to shoulder with the farmers, with the Kisans of Punjab and Uttar Pradesh and other parts of India, who are demanding that the government rescind laws and policies that are making it harder and harder for them to eke a living out of farming. I think Gandhi would have stood shoulder to shoulder with the Adivasis in Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand, who are opposing the manner in which they are being displaced, whether for big mining projects or for the construction of security camps built by the CRPF and so on. The final principle, which I think is absolutely essential to bear in mind, is something that was so close to Gandhi's heart, because he believed in the importance of dissent. You could argue that Gandhi's whole life, Gandhi's whole struggle, his whole politics was the politics of articulating dissent, was the politics of channeling people's discontent into a movement where they could fight for their rights. He did this for the most part of his life against British colonial rule in India. Of course, he fought in South Africa too. He did not live very long in independent India, but the bulk of his struggle was against the British. And for him, no colonial law which restricted his right to say and do what he wanted, provided he was not inciting violence, would stand in the way of his doing the right thing. There has always been a small section of opinion in this country that stood by what Nathuram Godse did, that believes that Gandhi was an enemy of the country because he stood for national unity, unity of people regardless of religion, because he said that India as a country belongs to all its people and not just the Hindus. So there's been a section which has, even if they've not come out openly to support what Godse did, passively or implicitly believe that what Godse was trying to do, even if he was misguided, was somehow justified. Or at any rate, they blame or fault Gandhi for the positions that he took. This section has always been with us. This is a core part of the belief of those who subscribe to the Hindutva ideology, who believe that India is a Hindu country and that Indians of other faiths can live and enjoy freedom of religion, provided they subscribe to this notion of India primarily being a Hindu country. So you've had a section of people who have, believed in this, but what's happening today, what's happening over the last 8 or 9 years is that this belief system, this value system, this idea that India is a country of Hindus has gained currency largely because you have a Prime Minister who comes from the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, whose core belief is of India as a Hindu Rashtra. Now the Prime Minister has on a couple of occasions made it a point to put some distance between himself and those who support Nathuram Godse. He famously said in an interview during the 2019 election campaign that what Pragya Thakur, who was a person that he himself had handpicked as the BJP's candidate for the Bhopal Lok Sabha seat, and who went on to make absolutely shocking and obnoxious comments about Mahatma Gandhi and in defense of Nathuram Godse, Modi was at pains, he was constrained to say that he would never forgive Pragya Thakur for what she said. But the reality is that Pragya Thakur has gone from strength to strength. Her political career has not suffered in the least. She continues to say god-awful things. You have others in the BJP and in the wider Sangh Parivar and in the wider Hindutva community that have continued to promote the cult of Godse and to, in some ways, justify the assassination of Gandhi. So this is a reality, and it would be very, very apposite, I think, on a day like today, that Prime Minister Modi come out openly and declare that all those who espouse this belief that India is a country that belongs primarily to the Hindus or only to the Hindus are actually enemies of India, and that all those who justify crimes committed in pursuit of this idea of India as a Hindu Rashtra will be punished. If Modi were to say this much on a day like today, 75 years after Gandhi was assassinated, this would be, I think, a very, very positive step. But does he have the ability to say that? And if he doesn't say that, if he cannot bring himself to make a simple, basic declaration, then I think somewhere down the line, we have to question the sincerity with which he says that he is a follower of Gandhi. So it's been 75 years since Gandhiji was killed, and it's fair to ask, how will Mahatma Gandhi be remembered 5, 10 or 50 years from now? Where will India be? And this is what the answer depends on. Where will India be 100 years after his assassination? if on the 75th anniversary we are living through a situation where every value and belief that he held is being violated, is being devalued, and if we are not able to resist this, if we are not able to challenge this, if we are not able to stand up for the primacy of what Gandhi believed and what he stood for, then I think 25 years later, on the 100th anniversary of Gandhiji's assassination, my deepest, darkest fear, if we succumb today, is that it is Godse that will be remembered in some way, will be celebrated in this country, not Gandhi, not his values, not his memory, not his principles.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.